Hello everyone, I'm Michael, and today, I'm going to tell you a story. What's the most disgusting thing you've seen someone do with no shame? Story 1. I'd interviewed a guy and decided to hire him, but first, wanted to see how he drove, so I suggested lunch. I'd buy. Off we went, took his truck, kept it reasonably clean, drove proficiently, decent table manners, good representative for the company if it ever came to it. So I paid and we pulled back into his truck, me, foreman, another guy, and as we're getting back, he swerved expressly to hit an armadillo and laughed like a hyena. We got back, my foreman glanced my way, and I shook my head imperceptibly. He nodded in agreement. So we told the guy we had a couple more people to interview. We didn't, and that was that. Occasionally still think back and wonder, why on earth? An inoffensive critter, and he went out of his way to kill it. Not our kind of people. Story 2. Did some work at a train station a while ago. One morning, the station master called me into the office, where they were reviewing the CCTV footage from the night before. Saw a woman walk up to the drinking fountain, hitch up her dress, straddle the fountain, and proceed to wash her vagina, right there in the fountain while the other commuters watched on. Haven't touched a public fountain since. Story 3. I was in Japan at a strip club. I walk into the bathroom and as I turn to a stall, I see a naked Japanese man, furiously beating off and hysterically laughing. Disgusting, but funny as hell. I made the situation even better by telling my friends a stripper was in the bathroom giving dudes BJs. They obviously jump up and run in there. Seconds later, the screams ensued. Story 4. Change a baby's diaper on a table in a restaurant, then get indignant when the waitress asks them to use the changing station located in the bathroom. You know, that room for poop away from where people eat. Story 5. At a music festival, walking past a garbage bin, my buddy walks up to it to throw something in. He looks inside, bends in, comes out again holding half a kebab and goes look at what people throw away, and proceeds to eat it. Story 6. An armed security guard at Walmart was wearing sweatpants and had his hand forearm deep inside scratching his D.A. He then removed his hand and smelled his fingers. After that, he stopped an old lady to check her receipt, and she ran away from him. He seemed unfazed. On my way out, he asked me who would win in a fight, xenomorph or predator. His skin and hair was so oily it looked like he was covered in Vaseline. Story 7. I saw a drunk guy try and pee between two people on the subway onto the free seat in the middle, whipped it out and everything. Thankfully, one of the passengers nearby was a tough middle-aged black woman who wasn't about to tolerate that shit. Bless her heart, she taught him shame that day, and his pee stayed in his pants until he got out at the next stop. Story 8. I went to school with a woman who has a nonverbal autistic daughter. Her daughter is almost 18, but since she was about 11, her and her husband created a YouTube channel to give tips about parenting autistic children. It has hundreds of thousands of followers, and that's great if it's helping people. However, the mom is also an MLM, and she uses her followers to make even more money with the MLM. I do feel like more and more, they've started profiting off of what started as an innocent YouTube channel. Story 9. It was my uncle's wedding day, and his wife was just getting ready to walk down the aisle. One of the guests in the wife's family decided to stand up and show off his Johnson. There were kids there, and he got kicked out trying to play it off as a joke. Story 10. I work with this guy who has a skin condition. Not sure what it is. I don't think even he knows because he's the type of person who will not go to the doctors. Anyway, fair enough, he's got a skin condition where it's flaky. But he scratches, and he scratches, and he scratches, and his skin goes everywhere, and he does not care. He's a delivery driver for the store I work at, and the other drivers will come in furious because the dashboard, the seats, the floor, everything is snowed in with flakes of skin. It's got to the point my manager has had to take him aside and say you need to clean up after yourself, and has given him a handheld vacuum, which he still does not use. Story 11. In college, I lived on a hill behind one of the more popular bars in town. Thursday nights they did karaoke. My roommate had introduced me to a guy he went to camp with the previous summer. This guy was classic college hippie dirty. Didn't shower, even after spending an entire summer sleeping outside. Would fart at any given moment. Participated in guerrilla gardening. The whole 9 yards. Well, this guy wasn't much of a drinker, preferring to sip on ciders. My roommate and I went to the bar, and then he told me that garbage boy was coming. I thought, well, I better go ahead and get a bucket of beers in me, so I don't have to worry about this clown embarrassing me. We're sitting right near the DJ booth. Garbage boy has had a couple ciders. I'm comfortably toasty thanks to approximately 1.5 buckets of beer. My roommate and garbage boy get up to sing their song. When they come back, the DJ comes over to tell them good job, or some nonsense like that, and knocks garbage boy cider over. The DJ quickly apologizes and retreats. Normally, in this kind of situation, one would expect a person to do one of two things: clean up or throw hands. Garbage boy chooses option C. Option C is to grab some napkins or towels and mop up the spilled cider from the table, wring them out into his glass, and then drink the cider, as if it didn't just wash over the dirtiest table in town. Story 12. A drinking partner I once knew was very much a shock and a kind of fella. He would come out with the most insane stuff, but was incredibly funny and intelligent. My opinion changed on the last adjective when he went to the men's room and came out with one of the yellow urinal cakes that help keep the piss stench down. He put it in his mouth and ate it. To this day, I don't know why he did it, but it was just really weird and disgusting. Story 13. I saw this guy get up in the middle of a bus ride multiple times and switch seats. I noticed he smelled urine, and when he got off, I noticed all the seats he sat on were moist wet. He also took out a big tub of Vaseline during the ride and slathered his entire face and neck with it. Story 14. Smoke electrical tape. The black plastic stuff. Rolled a small cigarette-sized tube and two guys smoked it, lit it, blew out the flame, and inhaled over and over. They rolled a giant cone right after. Me and another buddy told them that we couldn't believe they were smoking tape. They laughed and said they couldn't believe we weren't. Quite disgusting. Story 15. I was the only woman in an otherwise all-male office, and we had one bathroom. We all took turns cleaning it, and I was fine doing my part. Until we figured out that the reason it always smelled bad was because a 60-year-old man was urinating on the floor. There was a drain, and not the toilet. My boss said something to him, and he shrugged and said, "My wife cleans up after me at home." He was told his wife doesn't work here, but it didn't matter, and he kept doing it. From then on out, I refused to use that bathroom and started going down the street to the gas station every time I needed to go. Since I wasn't using it, I didn't have to help keep it clean, and there was no freaking way I was going to help keep that bathroom clean when a grown man was literally peeing on the floor. Story 16. At my old job, we used to have units and a bathroom in the office on the units, generally used by everyone except one guy for just number 1. We would cover if someone had to go off unit for number 2. No problem. This was an unwritten rule. But there was this one evening shifter who would basically say, "FK all of us." He was probably 5 pushing 400 lbs. I think he would purposely go and blow it up, and every time would come out, leaving feces on the toilet seat. Every single time, we had to go and tell him to go and clean the bathroom because he left it dirty. He would shrug it off until the manager of the unit. Never seen a healthcare worker so disgusting. Story 17. My ex used my daughter as a pawn to hurt me one last time through her divorce and custody case. After I filed for divorce, she filed a restraining order and domestic violence thing against me. Both were denied. She kept my daughter from me for 4+ months until our court date because she feared for her and my daughter's safety. She also accused me of being a drug addict. I passed every drug test, and she still refused to let me see my daughter in person. Mind you, I have no record and have never even gone to jail overnight or anything. Over facetum, my daughter would cry and beg to see me and come home, but her mother would just ignore both of our requests and showed no emotion seeing my daughter cry for me like that. I am so grateful the judge took my side and could see she was just pearl-clutching and trying to paint me in a bad light. I'm also grateful I saw my daughter's mother's true side, because I felt guilty wanting to divorce her before that. She severed any kind of emotional feeling or connection I had for her. Story 18. When I was about 23 or so, I was at Walmart in Sherman. I saw a little girl about 5 yelling at her dad in that sweet way little girls do. "Daddy, look at this. I want this." "Daddy, look." Something like this was coming out of her mouth. She was very excited and wanted to show her daddy something she wanted. What did he do? He went over to her and slapped harder across her face. Her head flung, and she spun a half circle. This was in the middle of the store. I clamped up. I got so pissed, but I didn't know what to do. Oh, but nowadays I'd call 911 and follow that dude out to his car to get his plates and report that shit to the cops and CPS. But back then, I didn't have the backbone I do now. He grabbed her hand and drug her over to the buggy and was yelling at her something like, "I told you to stay with us and not wander off," something like that. Later, I got behind them at the register and was able to see Mom. They had 5 kids, all pretty little from 3 to 9 or so. Mom looked mentally broken. She had that 1,000-yard stare, but seriously, she looked disassociated. It will haunt me till the day that I die that I didn't do something. Story 19. One of my employees was getting a divorce. The ex-wife changed throughout the years and became really mean. They had a dog together, and he loved it. They agreed he would keep the dog. A few weeks later, she says she misses the dog and would like to spend a few days with it. She asks to get the dog for a week starting Sunday. He accepts. Monday, middle of the day, my employee received a text from her. It was a selfie of her, all smiles, and the dog, dead. She had the dog euthanized to hurt his ex. My employee, note that the dog was for you, healthy and ready, well behaved. Story 20. I know this one girl whose dad had cancer. Her whole family was upset, rightfully so, and every time the ambulance had to go to their place, she'd get overly excited at the fact that her dad had to go to the hospital. I'm not talking about a little kid, but a fully self-aware 17-year-old girl. She couldn't wait until her father passed to make I have no dad jokes. When he did eventually pass away, she wore Hot Topic knee-high boots to his funeral, and later on went to a multi-purpose indoor park with her friend to go go-karting. She brings up her father's death any chance the attention isn't on her, and uses it as an excuse to act the way she does in relationships. He passed 2 years ago, and she still makes those jokes to this day. Story 21. Just started secondary school. Was in history class about 2 weeks into the school term. We realized that one girl never wore tights, and sometimes we could hear her breathing heavily at the back of the classroom, and sometimes she was rocking back and forth every now and then. The teacher noticed this person's antics and investigated. I'm not going to say exactly what she was caught doing, but let's just say that for the rest of the time I knew her before I transferred, everyone called her fish fingers. The worst bit is that she was proud of it all. Story 22. First, that comes to mind, working at a casino. There was this one lady who smoked so much. She complained the servers weren't bringing her new ashtrays often enough. Started ushing on her tongue. One time, I watched her put out a cigarette, but on the machine, then fucking eat it.